Welcome back. This is the Well I Am podcast. My name is Kerry Miller, and sitting with me today, a woman who has changed my life. I'm sorry that I had to meet her, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Shepston & Wiley partner, my lawyer. I own her now. Verlie Oosthuizen, welcome. Yay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Verlie, I know that people might be presuming that we're going to come and get stuck into my case. We're not going to be doing that.
Not today.
People do ask every single day what's happening with the case. I think it's fair for me to say we're still ongoing.
Yes, absolutely.
Soul hugs to all involved.
Yes.
And may we come to a hug and a handshake. May we.
That's always best.
May we. So we'll leave that there.
Yes.
If you have any questions, feel free to come to me directly.
Please don't involve me.
Yeah, do not involve Verlie. But Verlie, the one thing that I did find after meeting you is that I consider myself an educated woman. You know, I didn't realize how little I knew about our legal system until I had to be part of the legal system. And more than that, because I was someone that was speaking to people in the morning and they feel like they know me or they knew me, a lot of people started reaching out and asking me questions because the law, and I don't think just in South Africa, I think in the world, the law is something that it's a game we all need to play, but none of us know the rules. And when I started spending more and more time with you, I started to realize that there is this massive gap for the everyday man and woman like myself who doesn't understand what rights we have, who doesn't understand who we can turn to, and we don't have $3,500 an hour to go and ask A, B, or C, please can you help me with this? So I've got you here because I feel like I would love to ask your, I'm going to say opinion. I feel like advice is maybe the wrong word because I know that you're not here representing and you're not giving legal advice right now, but your opinion on some of the things. You are labor and social media law specific.
Yes.
So I'm going to stick with those.
That's fine.
But let's get to know Verlie first.
Sure.
So Verlie, I know that law is still pretty boys clubby.
It is quite.
It is quite.
Yes.
How is it that you landed up in law? I mean, you can't just love fighting.
Well, some people may think I do. In fact, I don't. I think it's just a skill that I've obviously developed over time. And when you have a skill, as with any skill, like the skills that you have, it's quite easy for you to do it. Even if you don't particularly want to, you will suddenly go, and be in a fight for me. Anyway, so I'm actually a fourth generation attorney. My father, his father, and his father were all attorneys. So one could say that it's in the blood. I did stop doing law at university for about a year or two because I rebelled against it, as I rebelled against everything.
You were an art student for a hot
yes.
second, and you were like, oh no.
No, I decided I was going to be a psychologist.
Okay.
But no, I would rather fight. So it was something that was in my bones, I would say. But I've gone to the law firm that my dad was at for 37 years, and I think that it was something that I was always destined to do. My elder sister had expressed an interest in law, and my dad said absolutely not.
Oh, sure.
And it was because she actually isn't suited to it. It's not.
Okay.
It's not her personality. And it's not to say that lawyers are all fighters, because there are plenty of lawyers that actually just do legal agreements. There are lawyers that do property transactions, and they don't fight. They don't like fighting at all. I wouldn't like to sit drafting contracts all day. I could think of nothing worse. So there's a particular personality type that will be willing to go into litigation. And as much as I laugh about wanting to fight, actually we're trying to solve problems. So everyday problems and trying to come to a resolution. And I think that is an important thing to remember, that sometimes you do have to put on your boxing gloves and go in. You always have to be willing to do that. That has to be something that you know could eventually happen. But my preference, and it might not be all litigation attorneys' preference, but my preference is to try and reach some kind of a resolution prior to a real fight happening. And the reason that I say that, in particular in South Africa, is that we have a legal system which is very, very expensive. it is a legal system that takes an extraordinary amount of time to get through. And I have a great deal of sympathy when I'm dealing with litigants, particularly litigants that are funding their own litigation.
So wait, what is a litigant? What is a litigation?
Okay.
No, and it's
Yes.
because this
no,
is it.
Because people don't know.
There's all terminology that comes with law that we don't know.
That you don't know.
So
a litigant is a person that's participating in litigation. So, for example, you are a litigant, but in as much as you are a litigant, the party on the other side is also a litigant.
And litigation is
the fight between the two parties or the three parties. So it is the process that happens in court in whichever tribunal has the power to decide a particular dispute being the fight or the subject matter. So I have a huge deal of sympathy for people that come into the process, and you are completely right when you say it is overwhelming. We deal in life and in society with rules. Every single day you are dealing with rules of behavior, rules of engagement, rules of the road, rules of a building. And everything is actually dictated, when you think about it, in terms of law.
Yeah.
But people don't know.
They don't know the law.
They don't know the law. I mean, the thing is that even lawyers, so even me, I don't know all of the law relating to ships.
You don't know shipping law?
I don't know shipping law.
What's wrong with you, women?
I know. It's crazy. I should have it at my fingertips. I may know where to find the information relating to that, but you usually specialize as an attorney or as any kind of lawyer in a particular type of law.
Oh, really?
Yes. So anything that that you may get thrown into or that piques your interest. So I don't have expertise in many
Divorce
areas of law. No. So for me, as somebody who understands the language of law, it can be overwhelming. So for people that have no understanding of the language of law, who haven't been dealing with it for 20 years, who haven't been listening about it for 45 years, how would you know? And often it is very difficult for a attorney or a lawyer or any kind of legal person to explain it in a way that a lay person will understand. You wouldn't go to a surgeon and ask them to explain the intricacies of the operation that they were doing.
Yeah.
They would just say, I'm going to operate on your elbow. Or maybe they would give you more information, but they don't have to explain in detail. And it is actually important for the person who is going to a lawyer to be able to have a relationship where they can understand what is going on and where they feel comfortable with asking those kind of questions.
There's a saying, I don't know if it's the right word as a saying, but people often say, when you go to, whether it's arbitration or mediation or litigation, the only person who wins at the end is the lawyer. Is that true?
In some ways, I would say that might be true. It's quite a sad indictment, and I take that on the chin because, in a lot of instances, and it depends particularly on the lawyers concerned. Some lawyers will. All they're looking for is the fees, and that's just the reality. And I can't even be disparaging about that because people have to, they've got to make their fees.
Well, it's a job at the end of the day. But I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let's say I'm paying 1,000 Rand. How much, and I don't know if it's or different, I don't know what you can answer, but how much goes to law firm? How much goes to lawyer? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it goes to the law firm. I mean, it doesn't go.
So does a lawyer get a salary?
Yes. Usually, it will depend very much on the
whether
situation.
You're now in litigation because this one's suing because the dog that was supposed to be a full breed is not a proper breed, and this one's in a massive court case with big names, multi-million rand court case. You both get the same salary.
No, not necessarily the same salary. It might be that everybody gets different salaries, but the firm will decide. Usually, the firm will decide who is getting which salary based on how much work and all of that kind of thing. I mean, there are different models for different firms. I don't want to speak for every single firm. But if you are working for yourself, obviously you get your, you are your own firm. You are your own firm. But what people also need to understand is that a law firm is a very, very, very expensive business to run. It's not a cheap business to run, and the reason being is that you've got very, very high levels of things like insurance. You've got to have very qualified staff that are assisting you. So any kind of support staff will have will be paralegals, or they'll be very highly qualified secretaries. You've got huge databases that you've got to maintain, because all of the law is based
And
on
keep
precedent.
confidence and
Yes, you've got massive IT systems that have to keep everything extremely confidential and have got to have massive security. So it's a very, very expensive business to run. And you've got to be on the roll of attorneys so that you can get professional indemnity cover. It's not a kind of, you can be in your car and just roll around. It's an expensive business to run, and so that is why it is expensive to get legal advice.
So now, with you saying that,
Yes.
and I'm hoping that I'll be able to speak to you a lot more in the duration of these podcasts. And when you think about the Well I Am podcast, why would we be speaking to Verlie? Well, because mental health is so tied to anything to do with legal.
Yes.
I don't know anyone who's going through a litigation that's in a great headspace.
Absolutely.
You're in a shit headspace when you're going through that. What you just said now, to get legal advice is incredibly costly. So 101, I'm going to ask you some questions so that if someone listening right now is in a situation, and it's an opinion, we're getting your opinion here. From the beginning, if something's happened to me in a workspace, so we're going to go labor because you know, you're labor, and we'll get to the intricacies of what could have happened at work, but I am in a situation where maybe either I've been fired or I'm not sure what's happening at work. What is the process? Do I go straight to a CCMA? Who can go to a CCMA? Okay. Or like, do I go and choose a lawyer, and how do I choose my lawyer? And so these are some of the things I want to look at if we can. So from CCMA perspective, the CCMA, I know that in KwaZulu-Natal or in Durban, ours is in town. I went there with you, but there were many people there without legal.
Yes.
So who is allowed to...
Employees are allowed to go to the CCMA. So you have to be an employee of a business, whether it is a company, whether it's a CC, whether it's a sole proprietor. You have to be an employee.
And if I'm a cleaner at someone's home, does that...
Yes, you are an employee.
I'm an employee.
Yes, you're an employee. So, and what the CCMA has done is that they do actually have a help centre. So you can go in there, and they don't give legal advice, but they would say to the person, yes, you're an employee, so that you can refer this dispute or whatever it is.
So let's say now I've been fired. I feel like it's unfair. I didn't do anything wrong. I just didn't get to work on time 3 times, and I'm sorry.
Yes.
Do I just pitch at CCMA? Do I phone them? Do I go online?
Well, you could, depending on what your resources are. So if it was you, for example, you could Google and you could go online, and when you go into the CCMA website, they actually have quite good guidance in terms of the forms, and you can fill out a form of what has happened, and then they will allocate you a case number, and then they actually allocate you a date within 30 days of you putting that referral in.
Okay.
So that mechanism is quite good. And it is free, so you don't have to get an attorney, you don't have to get legal representation in order to go to the CCMA, and that has made it a lot easier for employees that don't have a lot of money to have some kind of recourse without having to go to an attorney.
Is there a time limit from the time I'm fired
Yes.
to the time I need to...
You have to refer it within 30 days of being fired.
Okay, so I'm fired. I've got 30 days to at least email CCMA,
Yes.
or 30 days that I've got to be in there physically?
No, you have got 30 days within which to refer the dispute. So that is, go onto the website, find the forms, fill them out, send them to your employer and the CCMA. So you're telling the employer that you're referring the dispute, and you're telling the CCMA you're referring the dispute. The CCMA gives you a case number, and within 30 days of you putting in that referral form, you will get a date that you will be called into the CCMA with your ex-employer, and then the commissioner, the CCMA commissioner, will try to settle the dispute.
So that I was going to say now, so is CCMA, it's not a court?
No, it is referred to as a statutory tribunal. So it has been established in terms of an act. So, and that act is the Labour Relations Act, and they are tasked with dealing with labour disputes, whether it's strikes, whether it's dismissals, has to deal with labour disputes between employees and employers. And so they have specialised commissioners that are trained with employment law, that know everything about employment law, and those commissioners have the power to make a ruling. And it is not at the level of a high court or, a court, but it is a statutory tribunal which has immense power. I mean, it's when they say that you have to do something, you must do it. And if you don't do it, then you can be held in contempt of court.
And when you say they would like to come to a settlement, as soon as I hear the word settlement, I think most people, settlement means money, because you hear about a divorce settlement and someone got cash.
Yes.
Is that what settlement means?
That's usually exactly what it means. It can mean sometimes that the commissioner says to the employer, this is a terrible case. This person should be allowed to go back to work. That's unlikely in a settlement, but it can happen. It could be that they get an amount of money. It could be that the commissioner says, oh, well, how old is the person? Perhaps we can organise an early retirement. But whatever it is, I mean, a settlement can actually involve anything. Whatever it is, they write it down, it's stamped, it's an official document in terms of the CCMA. And so both parties are entitled to say, this must be abided by.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so before we get to CCMA, I'm at my job, I'm doing my job. And this actually, I was in Cape Town now, and a girl was telling me she works at I think they do marketing of some sorts. She is a female employee who just hates her. Just hates her. Just doesn't like her, is rude to her.
It happens.
Kind of a bitch to her. And this girl that I was talking to, she's mild, not nasty. I mean, she's timid.
Yes.
And lovely girl, but also you don't know what your rights are. So this woman is putting her down. She comes out of her office. Other people say, are you okay? That was hectic. But her whole thing is, it's my boss. So that is what. When do we know if something's illegal? Like, how does she know that, this is just a clash of two personalities, or what you're doing is not okay and I've got rights? Because I don't think anyone knows really, what are our rights? Like, where do we, is there someone we can look and say, how do I know if the way this woman's treating me is not legal? Like,
And those kind of situations are incredibly difficult. They're incredibly difficult, and I do have a huge amount of sympathy for that, because the reality is that in the workplace, in any workplace, and whether it's in South Africa or overseas, there will be clashes of personality. There will be a situation where there is someone who's got a very strong personality who might be hectic, is the word that comes to. Female attorneys are known as fairly hectic, so I do understand that. The thing is that you cannot, and in terms of law now, you cannot bully people in the workplace. And it is quite a wide definition of what bullying is.
What constitutes bullying with Verlie Oosthuizen?
So bullying is usually when there is an imbalance of power between two parties. So it's often in a situation where somebody has got a slightly higher stature than the other person, and so that they can exert their power in a way that is demeaning. So it could be in the situation that you've described, the female boss is rude and cutting and unkind, and because the other person is in a lower position than her, that imbalance of power, it can be very, very demeaning, and it can constitute bullying. It's very different in a situation where you have that female boss with an unfortunate personality, and she's going up against her colleague, which is at the same level as her, and doesn't care. Just thinks you're a cow. And I don't need to bother about you because you don't have any power over me. So you are not allowed to bully. There has actually been a guideline, a workplace a practice guideline, or a guidance note. I think it's called a guidance note on harassment within the workplace. It is regarded as harassment. In terms of the Employment Equity Act, it is prohibited. So what they have said, I mean, things that they have used as an example is, dirty looks.
Stop it.
Yes, excluding people.
But what if someone just has a face that has like a dirty look face?
Well, it's going to come down to an objective assessment by somebody who is in a position to make that objective assessment. And it can't be a situation where, they do look at whether objectively speaking, that is a bullying scenario. Okay, so there might be somebody who is a bit of a snowflake, as they like to say, and incredibly sensitive. And oh my word, I'm just getting bullied every single day. And the person's saying, well, actually, all I'm doing is asking you to do your job.
Yeah.
And I'm not actually being horrible. And that does come up. That happens a lot. And particularly, we do laugh because the different generations in the workplace, there's a very, very particular difference in the way that people approach their work now.
We are quite soft, but it's understandable.
No, so there will be people, so for example, our age generation who, expect a particular type of work ethic. I had a candidate attorney who told me absolutely straight-faced that he didn't like to have a rushed morning, and he felt quite strongly that he should come to work around 9 because boy likes to relax. And I said, no, you will be at work before 8.
Oh,
and I'm not usually dictatorial at all, but he felt that work-life balance was more important than work.
I mean, the boys, there's some good waves at the moment.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So it's going to be an objective test. It's going to be somebody looking at it and saying, that's really not okay.
Okay, so let's
use that as an example.
Let's go back to the CCMA situation where I haven't been fired.
Yes.
But my boss is he is just rude to me, or he's definitely bullying me.
Yes.
Like I know I'm being bullied.
Yes.
Is CCMA where I go, or do I only go CCMA once I've been fired?
No. You could actually go to the CCMA in that scenario, and you could refer a dispute saying that you are being harassed in terms of the Employment Equity Act, and say that somebody is bullying you, and so it constitutes workplace bullying essentially, and that it's a contravention of that harassment guidance note.
And is there any? So I'm sitting watching this now. I've got my own example.
Yes.
But I don't know what to do. Is there or are there, so for example, could I come to you just for, like if you go to a new facial person and they just like do the plan of your face and they say this is the ish.
Yes.
Is there some place that you could go like that where I'm like, I definitely don't have the cash to do a full court case, but I'm not sure what to do next?
Yes.
Is it like I can pay you for an hour, quickly tell you what's going on and you can give me...
You can absolutely do that. You can absolutely do that. You can say, I don't have the have the cash. First of all, is it something that you would be able to do? So, for example, at our firm, we deal with a lot of corporate clients. So it might be that there's a conflict of interest and I already act for your employer and so I can't act for you. And then what I would say is go to these firms. These firms specialize in employee cases and they usually have cheaper rates, for example, because they're not dealing with corporate clients. It could be that you go to probono.org, which is an organization that is in the labor court. And
probono.org.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have set up a satellite office at the Labour Court and you have qualified attorneys going there. So, for example, we have to do a certain amount of pro bono hours every month. As a firm, there has to be a certain amount of pro bono hours, and so we send attorneys down, and they will assist people at the Labour Court and give them advice.
And anyone can
go there. But you are the difficulty is for people that earn a little bit of money but not a lot of money, they might not qualify to get pro bono assistance.
So let's go there quickly.
Yes.
Pro bono means for free.
For free, that you don't pay.
For free versus a contingency fee agreement.
Yes.
Which means
that if you win, that the attorney will get some of your winnings, in inverted commas.
So your fee, you still get paid your fee, but your fee comes at the end.
At the end,
Whereas
yes.
pro bono, there's no fee, whether
There's
you
no
win or
fee.
lose.
there's no fee.
But you cannot get pro bono if you're rolling. So
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah,
I've got my Woolies trolley and my
yes.
Merc.
No,
I'm not going to pro bono.
not. No, absolutely not.
What is the...
No, they usually have a means test. The last time I saw it, it was 5,000 Rand a month. You have to be earning, less than 5,000. But it might have gone up, because that was quite a long time
I hope
it's
gone up, because if someone's earning 5,000, we should...
exactly.
No,
Exactly. But the thing is that it's very, very difficult for people that are kind of in the middle, that are earning enough money to have a Woolies trolley, but are not earning enough money to pay legal fees. And there's a lot of people like that. There is legal insurance. And
but hold on, legal insurance, do you take that out in case?
Yes, just in
case. Just in case sometime you get into some sort of legal shit. It's like every month it's coming off your account.
Yeah.
Really?
There's a lot of those around. It's often sold with kind of funeral policies and things like that, but there is a lot of that around.
And so now I am in a case.
Yes.
And for me, for example, I had seen you on Carte Blanche. I saw you.
I thought that it was at Guru Cat Yoga
and the yoga studio, and so that's how come I came to you.
Yes.
Only after the fact that I realized I got myself an A class, but it's fine. You're worth it. You're worth every cent. But if someone is in a situation, they're in a legal battle, or they're about to be in a legal battle with the workspace labor, how do you choose a lawyer? How do you choose the right person?
Well, often it is word of mouth. Or it will be, somebody has used, so word of mouth, someone has used someone else before, or you've seen somebody on Carte Blanche, or they've done yoga with you, or they've been on your radio show. So that does happen. But, people, there is quite in particular in labour in Durban, there's certain attorneys that do a lot of labour work, and all of the other attorneys know those attorneys, and they will often have an idea of who the right person it is to refer you to. So if you phone a law firm, for example, if somebody phones my office and they ask, they say that they've got a dispute, and I say, look, that's not going to be my area, or I know that I'm going to be too expensive, and I will give a list of people that I think are the right people. Yes, yeah.
Sheesh. And then I know we're running out of time, and there's so much more I'd like to talk to you about. And actually, I'm going to speak to Mark, who has the Well I Am brand, because I feel like if we could even allow, like if you're listening right now and you have a question, or you're in a situation where you don't have it to go, maybe we could get some questions in for you, because I really feel like this is something that South Africans deserve.
Yes.
We don't all have the ability to go and sit down and learn the law.
Absolutely.
And from the year and a half I've been with you, the more I find out, the more I realize we don't know.
Yes.
And it's a lot of people, a lot of really good humans are in very shit situations because they don't have the funds to back themselves. They don't feel like they can speak out. And so you've got these big corporates that are just squashing and squashing and squashing, and it must stop.
And just to add on to that, I don't usually act for individuals. I usually act for corporates, just because I work in a firm that acts for corporates. And to be honest, every single party or every single litigant does deserve to be represented. I know that sometimes people think, oh, well, corporate shouldn't be represented, and I do get that, but every party does deserve to be represented. But it's been a massive lesson for me acting for an individual, rather than acting for a corporate, because it's a completely different dynamic.
Yeah.
Because I am dealing with a human being with human feelings, and that is important to me. I don't like to. I know that litigation is incredibly stressful, and so it is actually important that we're on the Well I Am podcast, because you cannot underestimate the toll that litigation can take on somebody's health, whether it's their mental health, whether it's their physical health, whether it's their emotional health, financial, and it also takes a toll on the people that are acting. So for the attorneys, it's an incredibly stressful job. Not to say that, we're special in any way, but it is a stressful job, and it is important for people that are involved in any kind of litigation to take time to make sure that they are looking after themselves in order to represent people in the best possible way. Because if you are mentally unhealthy and psychologically unhealthy and physically unhealthy, there is no way that you can go into some kind of a dispute.
Yeah.
It is so stressful. And when you see your clients, no matter how much you love your clients, they're not seeing you because they think you're great. They're seeing you because something has gone drastically wrong. No one is happy to walk into an attorney's firm.
Trust.
So that is something that I take seriously. And I like to think that I wouldn't, in a corporate, if I was acting for a corporate, that I wouldn't act in a way that was like a shark. And that is something that I think about a lot, that you have to keep your moral compass in check.
Yeah, karma is still karma,
yes,
man.
it is, indeed. And there are ways to get around that. But it is important that people realize that law dictates probably 95% of your day. And
we don't know how it works.
We don't know how it works. And we need to be pointed in the right direction.
So 2 things. One is I made sure that you got Nature's Nutrition. They've got this superfood thing. I've seen how little you eat and how quickly you move. And it's got like everything in it. You can just have it in one shake. You can down it. You'll be happy to go.
Very excited.
But the second thing is when we were doing arbitration or I think it was arbitration. So that's basically when you're opposite each other and you're fighting, but you're not in court yet. And you and the other lawyer were going at it like, no, I tell you this, no, you, and I said, I put it to you. And then they're like, we need a break. And the break happened. And then you were like, did you try the curry place I told you? It was divine. And it was so weird for me because you both were in this full-on fight at each other at the table that we had to have a calm down. And then you just switched like that.
It is.
Like,
it's insane.
Have you tried that new place I told you about? It was so weird for me.
It is very, very strange. And I also know that it's quite disconcerting for clients.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I think you were at the CCMA with me the one day, and there was a group of attorneys of the old bullets of employment law, and everyone is fighting, like properly rorting with one another, and then they walk out and it's like, hey, so did you run a marathon lately? Oh no, I've just like my bike. Yeah, exactly. And there'll be some people that will have some niggling aggro, and then there'll be some people that are big hugs and kisses. Yes, we slightly multiple personality.
Not quite well, but we love you. But we run out of time, and this is the thing, and I know there's so much more space, and I'm hoping that we can open this up so that people can have an opportunity to ask questions, and
Absolutely.
we can get that, and especially using this platform because, like you said, it's mental health, man. It's emotional health.
Definitely.
It's wellness, and if we can come to agreements that leave everyone smiling and love-filled and joy.
Absolutely. It's difficult in the litigation space, but I believe it's possible.
And thank you so much. And and you even got social media. We'll get to social media another time.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Verlie.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the While I Am podcast. And if you enjoyed what you saw, please like it, share it, and subscribe. If you have any comments, comment below. We will get back to each and every one of you. And if you would like to know more about us or you want to get some product, whileiam.co.za.